The first 3 years of medical school, I was living almost entirely off of loans. My student loan balance as of now is around $350,000. By the time I graduate, I expect it to probably hit $400,000, maybe a little more. My name is Alexandra Capellini, and I'm a 26-year-old medical student living in New York City on a $28,000 stipend. Right now, I'm on a research year in between my 3rd and 4th years of school. The average week for me is pretty busy because I'm taking master's classes mostly at night and then working full-time with the research team during the day. I live in med student housing on the Upper East Side, which is extremely subsidized to be about $650 each month. And for this neighborhood, that is almost unheard of. Almost all of my friends in medical school rely on some form of family support in order to make ends meet here. Because we're 26, 27 years old and none of us have, the $80,000 that you need a year for tuition and living expenses. I would say that I've wanted to go to medical school for a very, very long time. So when I was 7 years old, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive bone cancer in my right knee, and that led to the amputation of my right leg above the knee. I was going through a really hard time on chemo and adjusting to the loss of my leg, and I had nurses and doctors and therapists all around me who every day showed me these levels of selflessness and compassion and empathy and care and kindness that I feel so blessed to know even exists. And I've known ever since then that I wanted to be part of that experience for another child. And so years down the later, it's been almost 20 years, and that's my motivation every day. There are definitely challenges that come with living in such an expensive city like New York on this research stipend. And even then, I've wanted to be in medical school for so long that none of those sacrifices have felt like deal breakers to me. They've just been a challenge to kind of navigate, but one that, I'm working through. It definitely gets tricky planning to meet up in New York with friends of mine who are 5 years out of college graduation and have been making nice, comfortable salaries this entire time and don't have to think too much about budgeting, at least not in the same way that I do on a research year stipend. This is a pricey city, and I try not to go overboard, but I also want to enjoy the weekend with friends. It's refreshing knowing that I can do that, but I also know that at the end of this year, when I go into 4th year, I'll go back to, letting that savings account sit pretty quiet. I'm very much reliant on the debit card. My parents were pretty strict with me wanting to be financially independent and had basically told me, you can open up a credit card when you have a stable, consistent income and you can pay it off in full at your own pace every single month without needing to lean on us. And I think that's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to when I actually start making a salary in residency is finally having that. I've always known how expensive med school was going to be. I've always known that my family would not be able to afford full tuition at medical school. So I took out all these loans in undergrad, also knowing that I would take out loans again for med school. But I was really trying hard not to let the cost of med school be any kind of factor that was going to affect whether I wanted to go, because I so badly wanted to apply and go. So my salary as a resident, which is the next step of training after you graduate from medical school, would probably be something in the range of maybe $55,000 to $65,000, and that would be my salary for, the next 4 or 5 years. And so I could start paying back some of my loans during that time. When I think about future salary, I think I can expect to earn the range of the mid 200,000s. And I think that would leave me in a good place to at least make a dent with these loans, but it's still going to take decades. I walk on an above knee prosthesis with a computerized knee for about 16 to 18 hours a day. The computer in the knee is what controls the change in the speed that the knee's bending and a little bit of the bounce in my step. My health insurance will cover the cost of, the full leg, including the knee, and that will last maybe about 4 or 5 years before I'll be due for something new. But I go in for a lot of maintenance checks just to make sure that the computer in the knee is working properly, that everything's charging correctly, that there are no kinks to work out, and a lot of the mechanics of how the leg's working. My leg also fits based on suction, and the suction is really what determines how tight of a fit the leg has around me, which is really important because I want to walk around not feeling like the leg's falling off. Like, I want it to feel as attached as possible. I swim about twice a week at the Y near my school. And that's something that I really got into during college because it was a really fun thing that I could do on my own time early in the morning or late at night. I also really like to rock climb. About 3 years ago, I discovered an adaptive rock climbing group in Long Island City, which is just a short train ride away from here. And so I started going one night a week to climb with a really great group of volunteers and other athletes. And that took a little bit of a pause during COVID, but now I've been gradually getting back into it, and it's something I try to make time to do every few weeks. I have a lot of different reasons for swimming and rock climbing. One of them is definitely because they're fun things to do and I enjoy them, and it's a perfect break from school. And I think another reason outside of that is that, it's really good for my body in general because I'm trying to stay in good shape as much as I can. I'm going into a field that's going to demand a lot of hours standing around, rounding, being on your feet. And so I really want to be in a good place where my body can take on all of that. I definitely consider myself a product of so many people within medicine and the healthcare system who have spent a lot of time and energy and put a lot of thought and care into really guiding me through cancer survivorship and life as an amputee. And I carry that with me in everything that I do every day. So when I think about having an opportunity to someday be in a care team that's taking care of a child who's facing a cancer diagnosis or limb loss and what that whole family's going through, that is so meaningful and rewarding that I don't think too hard about the costs of getting there, because that's still my guiding force. That's still what gets me up in the morning, and I'm just trying to find a way there.